Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, 5 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering a minister and a general have been arrested in South Sudan. Trump says the Kabul airport bombing orchestrator has been arrested in Pakistan, and the EU's von der Leyen proposes €800 billion for defence spending. So firstly, two senior officials in South Sudan, the petroleum minister and a lieutenant general, have been arrested, signalling a potential coup attempt targeting a faction of the power-sharing government. Chol, the petroleum minister, was taken into custody at his home in Juba by National Security Service personnel, while Duke Lam, the lieutenant colonel, an ally of the vice president, was arrested by South Sudan's People's Defence Force, which are loyal to the current president. The arrests have raised tensions in the country, with the vice president condemning the move as a violation of the 2018 peace agreement that ended the country's brutal 5-year civil war. The situation escalated further when troops from the South Sudan People's Defence Force surrounded the vice president's residence, stoking fears of renewed conflict. The army has accused Duke Lam of collaborating with rebels in the Upper Nile state, a region marked by clashes between the army and armed groups linked to the Nuer community. The UN recently reported heavy fighting in the region, causing civilian and military casualties. South Sudan has struggled to implement the 2018 peace deal, with elections being postponed last year due to financial constraints, leaving the country stuck in a cycle of poverty and violence. The fragile power-sharing agreement between Kiir and Machar remains on the edge, and these arrests threaten to unravel the already shaky peace. So what? While I hope that the conflict in South Sudan does not kick off again, it appears quite possible. The peace has always been tense, with the UN having little ability to stop clashes between rebels and army, and to protect civilians, or even to patrol outside of their bases for most of the year. If the conflict does start again, it would likely be very devastating for the civilian population of the country, as aid groups in Africa are already stretched thin on the ground due to conflicts in Sudan and the DRC. It is possible that the presence of the UN in the country already will allow their disagreements to be resolved through discourse, but conflict can never be ruled out in this part of the world. And next, an Islamic State operative, Mohammed Shafrullah, allegedly responsible for orchestrating the Kabul Abbey Gate suicide bombing attack in 2021 that killed 183 people, including 13 US troops, has been arrested. President Donald Trump announced the arrest during his first address to Congress after returning to office, thanking Pakistan for their assistance in capturing the top terrorist. The attack occurred outside HK International Airport as desperate crowds tried to flee Afghanistan following the Taliban's takeover. Trump criticized the Biden administration's handling of the US withdrawal from Afghanistan, stating that Shafrullah was being brought to the United States to face justice. According to the White House, Shafrullah was captured by Pakistani officials on the Afghan-Pak border in late February 2025. Reports suggest that he confessed to his role in the Abbey Gate attack, along with his involvement in the March 2024 attack in Moscow and other assaults in Iran. While his exact charges remain unclear, the FBI Director Kash Patel said the arrest moves forward for justice for the Americans killed, though his remarks did not mention Afghani victims. So what? It seems quite possible that this person is being made a scapegoat. Confessing to both the Abbey Gate attack and the Moscow attack seems rather convenient. It is likely that the arrest was conducted and possibly elicited to appease the US administration, and possibly the Russians also, as a way of currying favour with the new administration during his uptick in crackdowns against foreign countries. Though I'm not sure what the US does import from Pakistan and whether they would want to bring that industry home. It is possible that they would put tariffs on Pakistan due to their involvement in the drugs trade. This could likely be avoided if they seemingly bend the knee to the US and Trump, which this may be part of. And lastly, the European Commissioner, President Ursula von der Leyen, has unveiled the Rearm Europe plan, aiming to strengthen Europe's defence industry and military capabilities amid growing security concerns. The plan could mobilise around €800 billion and comes after the US suspended military aid to Ukraine following a tense meeting between Trump and Zelensky. Von der Leyen's 5-point plan includes suspending strict EU budget rules to allow member states to boost defence spending without triggering excessive deficit procedures, proposing that an average increase of 1.5% GDP could create nearly €650 billion in fiscal space over 4 years. Additionally, the plan offers $150 billion in loans to EU governments for defence investments, focusing on enhancing air and missile defence, artillery, drones, and cyber preparedness. The Rearm Europe plan reflects Europe's urgency to fortify its defences as US support for Ukraine and NATO appears increasingly uncertain. Trump's outreach to Russian President Vladimir Putin and shifting American priorities have highlighted concerns about transatlantic relations. In response, EU leaders had held an emergency meeting on March 6th, following a London summit to strategize the next steps. Germany's outgoing foreign minister praised the plan as an important first step, calling for additional military and financial aid for Ukraine and a quantum leap forward in EU defence capabilities. Von der Leyen emphasised Europe's readiness to strengthen its security, reaffirming collaboration with NATO while acknowledging the need for Europe to take more responsibility for its own defence during these monumentous and dangerous times. So what? While difficult, it is possible that this plan could be the kickstart Europe needs to boost their defence industry back to levels that would be needed for a modern state-on-state conflict. However, one key challenge that remains will be Europe's anti-industry regulations and environmental strategies that have hammered large-scale industry within the bloc. If this challenge can be overcome or bypassed, then it is possible that Europe will be able to build back their military to significant levels. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, check out one of our courses in the description below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.